What's up, everybody? It's the Power Rankings Podcast, aka the Power Rankings Show. I am your host, Elliot Harrison, and I am pleased to be joined by at Marcus_Mosher, who's smiling, having a great day.
Fantastic day. Great day.
Yeah. And so I'm here. I'm here to talk football.
You don't sound very happy, Elliot, though. It sounds like you're just here.
Let's talk about football. I have a ranking to do of 4 teams. It's a ranking, I'll be honest, I don't really believe in, but how's that for teasing the product? And so I guess we have some championship games that are you done? Just whenever you're done, you're beet red, you're smiling. You look like a tomato can right now.
Listen, I'm happy. Why can't I be happy? This is a good day. We had 2 great games yesterday. The Senior Bowl started today. I'm watching the measurements come in at the Senior Bowl as they happen. I'm just a content person. Football's good, Elliot.
Were yesterday's games great? Would you qualify those as great? Were those crisply played? I know they were close. Is a close game always a great game?
No, but I think yesterday we had some great games. I don't think those are ones that are going to make our top 10 great games of all time, which you should go listen to that we did on Friday. How's that for a plug? But yeah. I really enjoyed both of those games. I thought there was a chance that both of them could have been blowouts. And we got games that came down to the last play, which is a lot of fun.
I feel like my head is like, I don't know, the size of a watermelon in this thing. Okay. Well, I didn't think they were great games, especially the second one.
I mean,
the last drive was about as anticlimactic as you can possibly get. And the first game, I thought Patrick Mahomes played the worst game I've ever seen him play ever. So it's hard for me to look at it as a great game because they weren't crisply played. But see, I think we've kind of gotten to the realm of if a game is close, it's great. And I just think there was a huge difference in the quality of these games than, say, Buffalo, Kansas City, or San Francisco, Green Bay.
Yes, but we had really tense and exciting moments. And I think that's what made the game so exciting. Like Joe Burrow's scramble on that 3rd and 9 when Chris Jones had him around the neck. When the Tarrant dropped the pick in the Rams 49ers game. Like, it was a lot of fun. I just really enjoyed yesterday.
You enjoyed seeing a dropped interception? I've never enjoyed watching defensive backs drop easy balls.
No, you know what I mean. I enjoyed that they were high drama.
Do you agree with me now that smart secondary coaches should have their defensive backs on the jugs machine all the time?
Yeah, but I don't think that was because his hands were bad. It looked like he was looking elsewhere, right? He wasn't looking the ball into his hands, so it was a concentration thing more than anything else.
You can make a very strong case that lost the game for them. True.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And so I think part of the reason that I did not find the games to be great is because I don't think the better teams won. So,
but to be fair, we're used to that in the Super Bowl era, right? We don't always have the best teams that win, right?
Right. And so that's why I do not like this Super Bowl matchup. We have the 3rd best team in the NFC.
Hold on. That's
a
different argument, team. That's a different argument.
All right. Do you like this Super Bowl matchup?
No, but that doesn't mean I didn't enjoy the games.
Okay. I just feel like it's the 3rd best team in the NFC playing the 4th best team in the AFC. And now I know a lot of people would be like, hey, curmudgeon, that, the Bengals won. They did. Somebody, please, I'd love to hear from somebody who truly thinks the Bengals are better than the Chiefs. Now, I can handle an upset. I can.
Yeah, but to be fair,
I can handle an upset.
The Bengals have beat them twice now. I don't think there was anything fluky about it.
You don't think there was anything fluky about yesterday's game?
Not really, because
the interception by the defensive tackle,
BJ Hill,
Chris Jones literally having Joe Burrow around.
Yes.
How many times did Kansas City almost? I thought that game was about to turn into a rout,
but
at one point,
didn't that game follow the exact script of the last game, where the Chiefs looked phenomenal in the first half, and in the second half they struggled? I kind of don't think it's a fluke, Elliot.
Kansas City kicks a field goal at the end of the first half and goes up 24-10. I think that game is completely different. Completely different. I think that was a terrible way to go in to halftime. Andy Reid was furious. Patrick Mahomes asked for that and then made the stupidest play of it. I mean, I feel bad for the guy because I'm sure he is carrying this, knowing, hey, sometimes I've got to play within myself and within my team. It's hard for me because I couple things. One, I mean, I hate this Super Bowl matchup. That's why you're grinning.
I agree with you. This is not the best Super Bowl matchup, but I really like both of these teams. That's why it's such a unique thing.
Okay. So see, you and I like different things. I don't like super teams. I was overjoyed when the Mavericks beat the Miami Heat in the 2011 NBA Finals. Now I'm from Dallas, so of course I would be overjoyed about that part. But let me just tell you, I went into a sports bar in LA, really close to NFL Network, and to watch Game 7 of the Finals. I walk in there; it's all Lakers jerseys, right? I mean, every single person in that bar had their Lakers gear on. It's Game 7 of the 2011 NBA Finals. It's the Miami Heat and the Dallas Mavericks. The Lakers had been eliminated by the Mavericks. Mm-hmm. And that place erupted when Dirk made this crazy move in the post and put the Mavericks up by, I forget what it was, in the fourth quarter. Erupted because they didn't want to see a super team win. You, on the other hand, were rooting for the Heat in that. You're the only person I know that was rooting for the Heat.
And I'm a Laker fan. And I'm a Laker fan.
Yeah. You like the super team. You like putting a bunch of guys together.
Let me ask you this, though, Elliot. Yeah. One of the reasons you grew up in the 80s and the 90s of the NFL. And one of the reasons you like that is because you like dynasties and you like super teams like the Cowboys and the 49ers. So why are you against the Rams here?
Actually, I like when one upstart goes against one established team. I want to have one team in the Super Bowl that I can point at and say, okay, they were one of the top two teams in the league. Now, if the other team is an upstart that just so take Super Bowl 42, which we talked about in our top 10 games, right? There's no way the Giants were the best team in the NFC that year, man. Green Bay and Dallas were.
Yeah.
But you could make the argument that Tampa Bay was better than New York that year, but they played the best team in the league, and it made the Super Bowl compelling. Watching the third best team in the NFC play the fourth best team in the AFC is not compelling to me. It's not. I'm sorry. I'm curmudgeon.
You are. You're just a little bitter. Did you know the Rams have the most homegrown talent in the NFL this year? They had 31 of their 53 players they drafted,
and that's cool.
So they have a couple big stars that they traded for: Matt Stafford, Jalen Ramsey, Von Miller, but the rest of the team the rest of the team are all guys they drafted. So it's just a different way to build your roster. Doesn't necessarily mean they're going to win the Super Bowl.
And I again, if it was the Rams and the Chiefs, I probably wouldn't mind. If it was the Bengals, playing, the Packers, I probably wouldn't have minded, even though I'm not a Packers guy.
Yeah,
I just don't. I want the Super Bowl. I want to be able to look back at the Super Bowl winner and say that was the best team in the NFL, or they beat the best team in the NFL.
But we know the NFL doesn't work that way. It never has.
Well, then why play the regular season? Why not just play a giant tournament?
You're so bitter today.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this. If the number 1 and number 2 seeds fall in each conference,
maybe
doesn't it make the whole regular season race kind of null and void?
Okay, but then why even play the playoffs? Why not just let the number 1 seeds go right to the Super Bowl?
No, I of course. I'm just making the point that
maybe they weren't actually the best teams in the league. Maybe the number 1 seeds got to play some bad teams throughout the regular season. Like, I don't know. This has never really bothered me because I think eventually it shows out, right? You have to win 3 playoff games most of the time to make it to the Super Bowl. And we saw that, listen, the Chiefs should have probably lost last week to the Bills, right? I don't think we can say they were the clear-cut best team in the AFC. They got very lucky last week to win that game.
All right, I'm going to ask you straight. Are the Bills better than the Bengals?
Probably, but that's not the way the playoffs work, right?
I know it's not the way playoffs work. I'm aware.
Listen, more than anything else, this playoffs has showed you that matchups mean way more than seeding, right?
Can you just let me be curmudgeon-y?
No, because it's ruining my day. Your depressing nature.
Dude, I mean, San Francisco had that game.
Yeah.
You went. I was enjoying that moment. Yeah, I enjoyed that moment of peace for a minute. Okay, do you think the 49ers had that game?
No, I think the Chiefs had the game more than the 49ers had their
game. Yeah. So I'll tell you what lost the game for Kansas City, straight up. The middle 8. That's what lost Kansas City. The middle 8 minutes of the game. That's the last 4 minutes of the first half, the first 4 minutes of the second half. It's something Tom Brady has talked about that's hugely undervalued when evaluating whether teams win games. Do you win the middle 8? So let's review what happened in the middle 8. Cincinnati put together a really good drive, nothing fluky about it, that ended up with the touchdown. I think it was to Pirine
on the screen,
where he broke free.
Yep.
Ward, after the play, Ward missed a tackle so bad, and Chris Jones, I saw him hollering at him as the Bengals were celebrating their touchdown. It was a terrible open field miss. He didn't even get a hand on him, Marcus. Didn't even get a hand on him.
Nope.
Bengals get that touchdown. Then Kansas City comes back, and Kansas City gets no points when they have the ball with 5 seconds at the 1 yard line, right?
Yep.
So that right there is a major swing. The Chiefs come out flat in the second half, obviously still reeling from the end of the first half. And I don't know if they went 3 and out. I think they got 1 first down, then went 3 plays and out, so to speak. That won the game for Cincinnati in my mind.
Yep, I agree. If the Chiefs score a touchdown there before halftime, Bengals probably don't have enough possessions to come back, and that game totally changes. So I agree with you. It was an epic collapse by the Chiefs. Should we talk about Patrick Mahomes in the second half?
Yeah, please.
So in the second half in overtime, Elliot, he had 22 dropbacks. The Chiefs had a combined 16 net passing yards in the second half in overtime. 16. That is unheard of.
I'll give the Bengals secondary a lot of credit. They really did a heck of a job, and their defensive coordinator made the adjustments at halftime. It's hard for me to see a team like that play its worst football. Tennessee played terrible football. And that gets me back to another thing here is that you could make the argument the Rams were not the third best team in the NFC, that they were the second best team. They beat Tampa, right? But Tampa is without Chris Godwin. They just got Leonard Fournette back, and they had 2 offensive linemen trying to play through injuries. They were banged up coming into the Rams game.
Yep.
But I'm okay if you say, hey, I still think the Rams are better. I'm okay. But, you look at the Titans, right? It was Derrick Henry's first game back, and Ryan Tannehill played a terrible football game. And you just don't want to see – I don't want to see a team go to the Super Bowl because their opponents literally play the worst game they could possibly play.
To be fair, the Bengals defense has been kind of doing this lately, right? Like Derek Carr played a bad game in round 1 against the Bengals, and then Tannehill plays a bad game, and then Mahomes plays a bad game in the second half. Maybe we should give credit to the Bengals defense. Like Trey Hendrickson made a huge play in this game to get the strip sack and force them to kick a field goal. They stayed in their lanes and they made Mahomes second guess himself, and the guys weren't running wide open. I just think the Bengals deserve some credit.
They do deserve some credit, but it's a difference between what you like and what I like. See, you like good football in a vacuum. I like good, consistent football over a long period. And so what happens if the Bengals come back next year and they go 8-9? I don't want the 2011 Giants winning the Super Bowl again. You know how many times the Giants went back to the playoffs after winning the 2011 Super Bowl?
Yep.
Their defense got really hot at the right time. And I just want to see good football be sustained, And so Kansas City has played sustained good football over a 4 or 5 year period. I'll be honest, I don't love teams winning the Super Bowl and then going 7-10 is not going to be fun to me. But on the flip side, to be not so curmudgeon-y, I really respect how the Bengals have built their team, the way they're coached. I thought their adjustments were good. I like how they kept going back to the run, even when it wasn't working. I bet you probably yelled at the TV a few times on some of those run calls.
A couple of them, yeah.
Yeah, but they made Kansas City have to play it, and it opened things up for them. And, I agree with you. I just would have rather not seen the third best team in the NFC play the fourth best team in the AFC to decide the Lombardi Trophy. That's all.
All right. You're just going to be bitter all day. Can we get
if we were talking Bengals Bucks or Bengals Packers, I wouldn't be nearly as frustrated that the Bengals went through, because I like one upstart team. I just don't like it when I feel like, well, neither one of these teams were even close to being the best team in the league this year. That's the part I don't love. I'm sorry.
If it makes you feel better, Leo is probably going to wear like a Jared Goff jersey.
Oh man, okay. Let's get to the real reason. Can we get to the real reason I'm upset?
Yeah, go ahead.
Now that we got all why I'm really upset. I'm going to tell you a true statement right now. This is a true statement. I want all of our listeners, because I bet you almost none of our listeners are in the LA area. I'm guessing. This is a true statement. This is not hyperbole from your podcast host here. And if y'all understand this point of mine right here, and y'all can see me on this, y'all are going to totally know why I don't like the Rams in the Super Bowl. And while I'll be pulling for the Bengals hardcore, I want you to know I have seen one piece of Rams gear since I flew back from Texas. And I flew back from Texas on January 7th or 8th. So in 23 days, for a team that's going to the Super Bowl, I've seen, and this is what makes it really beautiful. The hat was clearly St. Louis Rams hat because it had the gold
horn. Yep.
Yeah, the gold horn.
Yep.
Rams didn't wear the gold horn at any point here in LA. How about that? I promise you, I am not making that up. I'm not making that up.
This is so good.
You know who the most popular team in LA is?
The Lakers.
No, football, NFL team.
NFL team? Yeah, probably the 49ers or the Cowboys.
Nope. No. Keep guessing. Yeah, that's two guesses. Keep going.
The Cardinals?
The Raiders.
Oh, that makes sense.
Raiders.
That makes sense.
The Raiders.
Okay.
And I promise you, I'm not being curmudgeon-y Carl here. You never see Rams gear. And now we're going to see Leo in a Donnie Avery Rams jersey.
Can't wait, man. Shout out to Donnie Avery.
in a black baseball hat with, I think when you tweet this show out, you're definitely going to have to warn people that I'm curmudgeon-y Carl.
I can tell. Yeah. As long as we see somebody with a Steven Jackson jersey on, we'll be good. All right, let's get to the rankings. Let's go to number 4.
Yeah, number 4, the San Francisco 49ers. Thanks for keeping me on track. The 49ers were not the best team in this playoffs, and I think this is a fair ranking, although I thought they had the game won, the NFC Championship game won. I think if Tart catches that ball, I think they win the game. But you know what? He didn't catch the ball, and that's what you have to do. The offensive line was absolutely atrocious. Anybody putting that game on Jimmy Garoppolo is totally off. And I am not a Jimmy G defender on any level whatsoever. Marcus, he didn't have a chance.
Nope.
He didn't have a chance on that last drive. I dare I say, I think Kyle Shanahan might have gotten out coached a little bit in this, or his staff did. So if you want to, put that on D'Amico Ryans, and then last thing I'll say is you cannot cover Cooper Kupp flat-footed. Was it K'Wan Williams that was on him in the slot? And he's squaring him up like shoulder pad to shoulder pad. with like if you watch, say, a Jalen Ramsey, there's always kind of a lean to one side. It's very hard when if I'm facing you, Marcus, shoulder to shoulder with my my feet, flat footed.
Yep.
You make a move on me, I'm gonna have a very hard time recovering. I don't. Cooper Kupp is so good. First of all, so 49ers probably deserved this spot, and they had the worst quarterback in the playoffs. Last thing I'll say is I am also disappointed because something you pointed out very astutely that I didn't even realize about myself is that I prefer to see different ways of winning other than just do you have a quarterback or not. I hate it coming down to just that it's a zero-sum game, whatever you want to call it. I probably bungled that cliche, but hey, there we go. So there's your fourth team.
Wow, all just great things you said about the 49ers. Listen, this is a really fun season for them.
It was.
From the way that they beat the Cowboys and they beat the Packers and they beat the Rams in Week 18. It's just tough to win that many road games in a row. And
it is.
I think eventually their secondary got exposed. And we thought it would happen against the Cowboys. We thought it would happen against the Packers.
Yes.
And this is the game on turf against a team they know well where they just couldn't match up. I suspect that the 49ers are going to be hunting cornerbacks early and often this offseason.
Yeah, and right now, listen, if we did our likability rankings on our podcast hosts, Marcus would be 1, 2, and 3, and I'd be in the 4 spot for sure. I'm terrible today. I totally agree with you. The secondary got exposed. That's who they are. And I don't think there's anything fluky about that part of it. Catching the football on a ball that you could have fair caught is a little different, I think, than covering. But look, this team has done this all year. They did it against Tennessee on Thursday night where they had the game and just blunders, just bad blunders. Yep. And I hate to see it, but they've earned this fourth spot. I also agree with you. Very fun season. If I had an MVP vote, I would vote for Deebo Samuel as MVP of the league this year. He would get my MVP vote. Very tough to say over Cooper Kupp and Aaron Rodgers, but Cooper Kupp did not do as much, I think, for his team as Deebo did for his, because Cooper Kupp had a lot of help both early in the season. He got Odell Beckham to take some pressure off him. By the way, I think Cooper Kupp's phenomenal. I told you, remember the beginning of the year, I had Cooper Kupp and Devontae Adams as the top receivers in the league. So but I think Deebo was MVP this year. Do you have a strong argument against that? Is that hyperbole or
a little bit? I like voting for quarterbacks for MVP, but I get it. Deebo was incredible this year.
What an interesting take. I like voting for quarterbacks.
Quarterbacks are what actually matters in this league, Elliot. You know that the National Football League, you have to have a number 1 pick at quarterback to go to the Super Bowl.
Hey, so. Sean Payton had a good career, Elliot. Did you know that? I didn't, Marcus.
Deebo is really good this year. I have no problems at all if he gets some MVP votes.
Okay, let's move on to the next team. A great year for the 49ers, a really tough loss. I hope they're back. All right, Kansas City Chiefs at number 3. A team failure, yes, but in such a quarterback-centric league, when your quarterback plays so beneath his own abilities, it's very hard to recover from. I think it's easier to recover from when your quarterback plays somewhat mediocre. But in that second half, you pointed out their passing offense. I actually thought the Chiefs' offensive line did a pretty good job. Did you feel like Patrick Mahomes? The Bengals got some pressure on him, but sometimes like he took that sack. Now he got away with this, but the sack that he took that forced Butker to kick the field goal from 15 yards farther. Do you know which play I'm talking about in the second half? It
was the strip sack play.
What are you doing? Yeah. What are you doing? The Chiefs had a great year. Patrick Mahomes is a phenomenal player. He just had a bad game. Yeah, but I thought that
I disagree, though. I actually disagree. He didn't have a bad game. He had a bad half because in the first half, Elliot, these are their 4 drives: 11 plays, 84 yards, touchdown; 7 plays, 75 yards, touchdown; 8 plays, 72 yards, touchdown; 7 plays, 80 yards and a half. Like, they were moving the ball up and down the field, and I saw ESPN said his QBR in the first half was 98. So this is actually, in the first half, one of the better games that he's ever played. Bengals just confused him in the second half, and they couldn't do anything. It was wild.
I could not understand though on some of those plays why he didn't run. Take off. Just take it. Take what it's kind of like Ryan Tannehill in the first game. Take the underneath to Ferkser. You don't have to try to get it. You start pressing. But, I need to remind myself, I think we all need to remind ourselves, Patrick Mahomes is in his fifth year. And, there's still a growing process. Quarterbacks typically are at their best when they're around year 10, historically, or most of them, obviously not all of them. Joe Montana's career became absolutely phenomenal when he was in year 11. So same with Tom Brady. Tom Brady's best year, I think, was 2010. That was his 11th year in the league. So, he's going to grow. Outside of that, I thought the Chiefs running game was doing a really good job. I wish they would have stuck with it a little bit more. It was there for the taking. And, the secondary started getting exposed in the second half as well. Am I missing anything here?
No, the only thing I would say, the long-term or big picture, you do wonder, is this the Chiefs' best chance to win a Super Bowl over the next couple of years? Because Patrick Mahomes' cap number goes from $7 million this year to $45 million next year. They've got a bunch of free agents who they're probably going to leave. Tyrann Mathieu already said basically goodbye to Kansas City. Travis Kelce's on the wrong side of 30. He's only 6 months younger than Rob Gronkowski, who's probably going to be retiring. They have to crush this offseason in order to stay at the near top of the AFC, because there's a lot of teams that are coming. Obviously, the Bengals now with Joe Burrow, hope Justin Herbert with the Chargers, Lamar Jackson's going to get healthier, Josh Allen in Buffalo. The Chiefs have to nail this offseason to be right back in this spot next year.
Yeah, I had mentioned this to you before. Travis Kelce is going to be entering year 10. Tyreek Hill is not an old player, but I have seen very few players that use their elite speed so much that's so much a part of their game. That's not the kind of thing that lasts 10 years. Correct. Deion Sanders is one of the very few players in NFL history I've ever seen who in year 10 was as fast and as much faster than everybody else. Look at Chris Johnson, right? Chris Johnson had elite speed, but Marcus, wouldn't you say by year 5, it just wasn't, or 6, it wasn't quite the same,
To be fair, that's a running back, so we don't really count those on the show.
Can you
Deshaun? How about Deshaun Jackson? That's probably the best example, right?
Yeah, it kept getting hurt.
Yep.
So I'm with you. Hopefully Chris Jones can keep it up at a high level, but you're talking about how much guys are getting paid.
Melvin Ingram's a free agent.
Yes. So, but they do have some nice young players. Bolton had a nice year for them, and their offensive line looks really good going forward. They had 2 rookies starting on that line.
Assuming they can get Orlando Brown back, the left tackle they traded for. He's actually an unrestricted free agent right now. I got to think the Chiefs are going to do everything possible to bring him back.
Yeah, we should probably leave the Chiefs here, but it's an interesting thought that we could talk about in this offseason quite a bit when this rag of a Super Bowl is behind us. Okay, did I say that? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I hope it's a great game. Cincinnati Bengals at number 2. They earn this. As much as I'm disappointed with the Chiefs, I'm more disappointed at the situation of both teams. Like I said, if the Bengals were playing what I think were better teams, then I would not be as frustrated by the string of upsets. The Bengals definitely earned it. I don't want to take anything away. Their secondary has played phenomenally well. If you go back to the Tennessee game, the play that Mike Hilton made to make that interception on the backfield, the play that he read twice in that game, and then Eli Apple making that interception at the end. Their pass rushers, they lost a key player at their defensive tackle spot. His replacement had the interception in this game. There's so many different places you could go. Obviously, Joe Burrow played really well. Do you like the way that they attacked the Chiefs? They were very, very patient, maybe a little too patient in the first half.
Yeah.
But maybe Kansas City, was just obviously Kansas City didn't have Tyrann Mathieu last week against Buffalo. They had him this week. That probably made a lot of the difference in the first half this week.
Yeah, and listen, we should point out that CJ Uzama, who we've mentioned in this podcast a million times,
Yeah.
went out early in this game, and that was a big injury for them because he just does so much in the middle of the field, and yet they found a way. Something that I'm going to be kind of interested in going back and looking, over the summer is the quarterback kicker combo, because I really feel like that one matters, because we saw in this game, basically whenever the Bengals were inside the 40-yard line, McPherson was money, and he's been money throughout the entire playoffs. And when you have a weapon like that, it just makes offense so much easier, right? Because you get the ball almost every time, starting at the 25. Hey, you need 30 yards, 30, 35 yards, and hey, we're in scoring position. I just like this Bengals team. There's so many big time players that step up in big moments. They're fun to watch. I know you don't like them, but that's okay.
I don't not like the Bengals.
I know. I'm just teasing.
I just don't like the matchup.
I get it.
I used to think that punter was the most underrated position in football because so much of football was just a field position game. That was true 10 years ago and back.
Yep.
I think the NFL coaches are so much more willing to go for two, to go for it on fourth down, to be aggressive, that I think the kicker is the most underrated position in football now. Now, everyone knows that having a good kicker is important, but I don't think they value it. For example, if a team were to take a kicker with the 31st pick overall in the draft, I think people would be like, what are they doing? I have no problem with it.
It depends on the kicker, right? Yeah.
Right. If the kicker turns out to be Harrison Butker or Evan McPherson or, whoever else, then I think it's worth it. I think you're absolutely right on this.
Here's the thing. Kickers are
it took you 35 minutes to make a good point, but at least it came,
Kickers are a little bit more high variance, right? We see the year over year production can be up and down. However, if you have a guy that you really trust, it just changes the whole equation of how you play offense, right? Because if I only need to get 35 yards in this possession in order to be in scoring range, you just play games differently. And the Bengals kick a lot of field goals. They have all playoffs long, and they're in a Super Bowl. And I know it's not necessarily the analytic way to go, is to, go for it more on fourth down. But when you have such a sure thing at kicker, it really helps.
See, and that's one of the things about analytics that I think is true analytics, not Twitter, you and your cronies analytics, true analytics. Boy, I'm all over you right now.
You are. That's right.
Because wouldn't it also be a part of analytics of how accurate your kicker is and in what situations?
I think that needs to be factored in, right?
Right. Analytics shouldn't just be synonymous with being aggressive and whether you should go for it on fourth down and so on and so forth. It should apply to all aspects of the game. How much does sack differential matter? I used to think it mattered a lot. And then we saw the Tennessee-Cincinnati game. I feel like I've referenced that game quite a bit today. Excuse me. But what was the sack differential in that game? I think it was like -7.
Yeah. So, like that.
Yeah. So we're the winning team, obviously. I'm with you on this completely. I want to take it one step further, though. Not only does it tell you, your quarterback, hey, this is how far I can go, it makes your head coach's decision whether to go for it on fourth down in a lot of ways that much easier. I guess you could say it makes it harder too, but are you really going to be as aggressive if hey, my kicker is Justin Tucker. He's money in the bank. We don't need to go for it right here, because I know I'm getting 3 points.
Well, I also think it depends. Like if you're going for it on 4th and 1 from the 50, you might be like, hey, if we get this, all we need is 15 more yards to get points, right? So I think that's part of it as well, where if you have a bad kicker, like I think the Rams might have a bad kicker, you might have to say, okay, even if we get this first down, we need 35 more yards to score points. I think that's a lot of things has to be factored in, right?
Right. I think, let's say you're at the opponent's 38-yard line. You're looking at a 56-yard kick for your kicker, right? Mm-hmm. When you're in that area, you really have a tough decision to make on, say, 4th and 2 or 4th and 3 or, anything less than 4th and 6, I would say is decision time. Because, and maybe even 4th and 6, because you're worried about your punter booting it into the end zone and you haven't gained any field position at all. If you've got a kicker that can hit from 56, fairly 7 out of 10 times, 8 out of 10 times, hey, easy decision to make, right? So easy. I think you're really onto something. This is something we should dive into in our draft analysis, if there are any teams that you would say, hey, it's worth them spending a day 1 or day 2 pick on a kicker. Yep. Did any kickers go day 1, day 2 last year?
No, but the first one drafted, McPherson for the Bengals.
But wasn't he like 4th? Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah. So when I say day 1, day 2, if any of you guys are not draft nicks, it's just day 1 is first round, day 2 is the second and third round. There you go. Okay. Let's go to the number 1 team. I may not be happy about the matchup, but I do think they're the best team left standing. Just because I don't love super teams does not mean that they're not good. And Von Miller still makes plays, maybe not as often, still makes plays. Odell Beckham has absolutely earned his value. I could do without the pectoral flexes after a routine 8-yard catch, but all those people that were dogging him out, and I know who you are on Twitter, you're always tweeting. You haven't come back and said anything about how wrong you were after the 49ers game. And then, obviously Jalen Ramsey is probably the best corner in the game. Matt Stafford made some great throws in this game. Marcus, they're probably going to win the Super Bowl, and they did it by doing things differently, and that I respect.
Yeah, I really admire the way that Les Snead has built this team, right? Like, they know their window is now. So why not go out and go get Von Miller? Why not go out and get Odell Beckham after you lost Robert Woods? Like, I admire it. That's all. I know you don't like super teams. I like watching this team. They're just a really bad matchup for the Bengals. And I think that's what bothers us so much.
But can you, that's true. I mean, yeah, this is a look for anyone that's listening right now. I respect these teams, and
we kind of wish it would be like the Rams against the Chiefs or the Bengals against the 49ers. I think what you and I are both afraid of is that this game is going to get out of hand, and we could have had a better Super Bowl matchup, but that doesn't mean we don't like each of these teams.
Exactly. And then for me, and Marcus doesn't have to deal with this, but in case you don't know, there's one team in the league that Marcus really doesn't like very much. And when that team makes the Super Bowl and Marcus has to see 5 million jerseys of Lima Swede, it is frustrating for him. Okay. So let's take that, right? If the Steelers go to the Super Bowl and you see all these Steelers jerseys, you go to the Amish market and you're getting whatever the roll that you get. And well, you guys go to the Amish market like once a week, right?
Keep going.
Isn't that the one you walk to?
Keep going.
Well, you can't right now. It's too cold. So you go to the Amish market, you get your normal thing that you love the most. And all of a sudden you've got, 5 Lima Swede jerseys and, whatever, 3 Richard Mendenhall jerseys. Okay. Isn't that better than seeing no Rams jerseys ever, except at the game? Not anywhere. You don't see Rams baseball hats. I don't even see Rams sweatpants. Okay. Nothing. And then all of a sudden now the city is going to be all about LA. It's just bleh.
Are you done? Are you done complaining?
Yeah.
This will be fine. Here's the good thing, Elliot. Once the Super Bowl is over on Monday, you're never going to see that Ram stuff again, so you don't have to worry about it.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. You're never going to see it again. Like Cincinnati goes crazy when they're.
Oh, their fans are fantastic.
Oh, they go crazy. I mean, I have just to peel the curtain back here. I have Cincinnati game. I have the Super Bowl 16, their first Super Bowl appearance. And I have games from the late 80s. They made it in 88. And I love seeing Bengals gear. And I love seeing somebody out at that game wearing a Ken Anderson 14 jersey. It's awesome, man. I worked with a couple Bengals fans at NFL Network. One of them had no problem. He wore his Bengals gear every Sunday, Bengals baseball hat, even when they stunk. And I love that, man. I love that. The Rams thing, I promise y'all, if y'all lived in LA, if any of you guys that are listening do live in LA, will you just tweet Marcus and back me up on this, please?
At Marcus_Mosher. Yeah, I'd like to know.
Yes. Yeah. So I just thought it was hysterical that the one piece of Rams gear I saw was the gold St. Louis Rams.
I just can't believe this bothers you that much, but that's okay. I get it.
Look, LaRon Robinson does not bother me.
Cowboy legend.
Okay. Yeah, Cowboy legend, but Ram draft pick, I believe.
Yeah.
So, okay, we've got 49ers 4, Chiefs 3, Cincy 2, Rams 1. 49ers, we think are going to be pretty much back. It'll be interesting to see what they do with Trey Lance. We're going to get into that a lot this offseason. Kansas City, we're both worried about if the window isn't closing this year, maybe next year might be the last hurrah for this collection of players. Cincinnati at number 2, they earned it, and that's who I'm going for in the Super Bowl, and it's safe to say Marcus is too. And then the Rams at number 1. One last thing on the Rams here. Last week, I don't remember which pod it was, I read Kevin Demoff's entire quote in Mike Silver's Valley Sports article. Worth your time to look that article up about how the Rams built this team and took risks. And even though, just because I don't necessarily want the Rams to win the Super Bowl, I do really admire what they've done. And I think in any business, I don't care if you're listening out there, I don't care if you're a writer like I am, or if you're, carpet cleaning. I don't care what business you're in. If you don't do things differently from your competition and you don't take risks, it's just harder. There's a great saying that's been around for a really long time. The higher the risk, the higher the reward. And so the Rams have proven that this year. And kudos to them, to Les Snead, to Kevin Demoff, to Sean McVay, and their newcomers for fitting in with that team and with their culture, knowing that Aaron Donald is the unquestioned leader and man on this team. I mean, look, that was great to see on the sideline when he called the defensive unit together and said, these guys have got big egos, man. These are professional athletes. Matt Stafford's accomplished. Odell Beckham's accomplished. Von Miller is probably the best out of all of them career-wise, right? Mm-hmm. Von Miller's breakdancing into the Hall of Fame, man.
Yep.
And all of those guys know who the man is on the Rams. And so sorry for the long-winded diatribe, but I do want to give the Rams a lot of credit.
Rams -4 over the Bengals next week, buddy.
We're going to talk about that on Thursday, right?
No, next Thursday. This Thursday, we've got a special show. We're going to be talking about the head coaching hires and which ones we like, which ones we don't like.
That's what you call a setup for a tease, Marcus.
Yeah, there you go.
You see, you go for the easy tease, like, hey, we talked about that on this day. Go check it out. I went for the more, I did a jet sweep on you. So can we do a whole podcast on why a reverse isn't actually reversed and it's an end around and it's only reverse if it goes back the other way? Yeah,
we should talk about that over the offseason. Nobody's going to listen to that podcast. Can't wait.
Can't wait. Okay, so Curmudgeon Carl has no more takes. Hey, good football yesterday. I just hesitated to call it great football. I thought the divisional round was better than this, but that's not really a fair comparison either because the divisional round was absolutely phenomenal. We may not see that again for a long time. Oh, that means we're ready to go. Right there. Yeah. So you don't even get a last word. Well, you get a last word over the music.
Last 2 weeks of the playoffs, fantastic. Some of the best we've ever seen. Hope the Super Bowl can live up to that.
Yeah. Hey, Sean Payton, man. You can follow him at Marcus_Mosher. He's the host of Locked On Cowboys. He does a great job there. So feel free to listen. I'm at Harrison NFL. We thank Brinks TV. And we will see you guys on Thursday. Talk some coaches.